Hello, hello. Welcome to One More Live. And this is Thelma Fieldweit, the Raw Detox Coach. I'm here on these lives to share strategies so that you can lose weight naturally without body shaming. You can be healthier and feel great. And today, Wednesday, I've started with something like every day I have a live, like on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So now I am trying to hold to 3 days. Will be different themes. So besides the normal theme we discuss, will be kind of editorial series. So on Wednesdays, I'll be going through a book that I'll pick and show a bit what the book is saying about a certain theme so that we can go a little bit deeper into research studies and things like that. So today I picked a book. Before I pass into that, I just want to share with you today I'm not feeling greatest energy as normally I like to pass to you. So if you notice, just know I feel a bit lack of sun. We had some weeks now with gray weather, and if you live in Norway or perhaps in Europe, in some parts of Europe, I guess you're experiencing the same. So that really affects me, and so yeah, today I really didn't feel like coming here. Just want to be honest with you because that's life, right? Many times we don't feel like doing certain things. And I could, well, not come here, right? And come on Friday or any other day. But I also thought, you know what? I need to do what needs to be done. And I want to show up for you because what I had in mind to share with you today is something that is so important. So today I'm showing up the way I am with a little bit less energy, but I'm still here. And the same for our weight loss journey and health journey. Sometimes you don't feel like eating healthy, you don't feel like, preparing the food, you don't feel like exercising, you just feel like going back to your old habits. And there'll be those days, definitely. Uh, but again, remembering that what is the right thing to do? Let's try our best to do it. We won't always do it, but today I chose to show up for you. So just wanted to inform you so that you know. And yeah. So the book I want to share with you today is this. This is a great book, China Study. The China Study revised. This one is the revised and expanded edition, so it's the newest edition. The most comprehensive study of nutrition ever conducted. And you can see it's quite big. This book means a lot to me. It's a book I had removed already some notes, but I still have many notes you can see. It's a book that helped me in the beginning of my journey to be sure that I was doing the right thing and to answer all the questions I had. Is a great book for anybody interested in weight loss, health journey, and just want to really go to the next level and want to be informed. And this book inspired me also to share with the people I help, with my clients, not just telling them what to do for them to achieve their goals, but teaching them why they are in the situation they are and why they should do certain things or not do certain things, right? It's a book that I definitely will recommend. So Who wrote this book? This book was written by two guys, father and son. So T. Colin Campbell, PhD scientist, and also Thomas Campbell, his son, that is a medical doctor. But I'll just give you a little bit preview on why it's so interesting to look into Dr. Campbell's work. He's been working for over 40 years in nutrition research. That's very interesting. And then he also, let's see here, he received more than 70 grant years of funding to research about, to do research, basically. And he authored more than 300 research papers. And why is this important is because he's been collaborating with Cornell University, Oxford University, Chinese Academic of Preventive Medicine. And why this is important is because sometimes you might just hear different stuff about nutrition. I've mentioned before, like every day there's a new study that says this is bad, this is good, do this, do that. And we might be so tempted to just follow because somebody that says they know told you to do this. But there is information, there is reliable information, but you need to do the work. You need to go there, study it, and make sense of it. And yes, it takes work, it takes time and energy to go and study. But depending on, your you wanting to go deeper, to get to know your own body and to bring the results you want to bring to your body, to your health, then you do the work. And that's what's the difference between you depending on somebody to teach you to lose weight. Of course, we all appreciate guides, right? But remember, is your body, is your journey. At the end of the day, you have to take control over it. And I really I'm grateful for the work that he been putting, because this work of informing people, like I'm also doing here, informing people, teaching people to become their own masters, right? Become their own drivers of their body, of their health. It's so important. We live in a world that many people just depend on other people to even think. And this, when it comes to your health, do not give it this power away just because somebody is wearing a gown of authority, a white gown. Yeah, so we still own this responsibility. So this book is so great, and of course we won't be able to go through everything. This will take many hours, but for today I chose the theme of diabetes, obesity and food, because we talk about weight loss, right? And many people that are overweight, sometimes they already have diabetes, because diabetes is so connected with overweight. And even if they don't have diabetes case even in their family, when they have diabetes case in their family, they fear to also have it somehow because of genetics. But even when they don't have cases in their family, there could be a chance of them developing diabetes. So this is something very serious. So today's live, we're gonna focus on chapter 7 of the book, where it talks about diabetes in connection with food, and also what is the research saying. So when it comes to diabetes, we have two types of diabetes, type 1 and type 2. And it's very interesting how the book is presenting it and showing. Of course, this is mostly, I mean, many of the statistics is based on US numbers, but it also brings some statistics of worldwide. So yeah, so it serves for everybody. For example, here there's a paragraph saying that almost all cases of diabetes, either type 1 or 2, type 1 develops in children and adolescents, and so that's why many times it's called as juvenile diabetes, because diabetes type 1 normally you find in kids. But then, I mean, you find starts in kids and then they grow up into adults with diabetes type 1. But then again, they notice because type 2 diabetes, which is normally due to the lifestyle and was coming to people from 40 over. The late years, they noticed that cases of children that are also showing type 2 diabetes. And that is very serious. That means that if they were supposed to get only diabetes by the age of 40 plus, they are getting it as children. So then again, today is a bit like type 1, type 2. They don't identify so much as type 1 for kids, but it's like type 2 can also get into kids. Okay, so both cases, diabetes, type 1 or type 2, they are a dysfunction in the sugar metabolism. So the way the body takes the sugar and what it does to the sugar. So when it comes to food, we have these three groups, the macronutrients. We have carbohydrates, which are the sugar. We have the proteins, we have the fat, just like the macro ones. And then how does the body digest each one is different. So when it comes to diabetes, there is a problem there, a dysfunction when it comes to sugar or carbohydrates metabolism. So and has a very interesting illustration here about, for us to understand better what happens when somebody has diabetes. So I will just find it because I made a note here. So okay, I'll say, before I say the illustration, I'll say the way they wrote here. They wrote diabetes type 1 cannot produce, or people with diabetes type 1 cannot produce adequate insulin, which is a hormone, because the insulin producing cells of the pancreas have been destroyed or are dysfunctional. So type 1 diabetes, they cannot produce insulin because the cells in the pancreas are supposed to do that. They are either destroyed or they're not functioning properly. Okay. Now, because of that, the result is that the body is attacking itself. That's why they kind of call it autoimmune disease. Now, diabetes type 2, the people having it, they produce insulin, but the insulin is not doing its job effectively. Once the insulin starts giving orders, because the insulin is like the giving orders to the blood sugar. So we eat, right? We eat carbohydrates. So that sugar needs to go somewhere, right? So the insulin is sending this sugar to the blood cells. But in type 2 diabetes, when they saying to the body, okay, now send the sugar to the blood cells, what happens? The body doesn't pay attention and the blood sugar is not used properly. Okay, so they say it's not metabolized properly. And what happens? The sugar is just laying there in the blood. It's not going inside the blood cells. That's when we have a problem, and that's what is called insulin resistant. So it's like that sugar or the body is resisting to the orders from insulin. So it's like insulin has no power. Now, they give this very nice illustration. I'll tell you here. It says, imagine your body as an airport, complete with vast parking areas. Each unit of your blood sugar is an individual traveler. So each unit of the blood sugar is a traveler. Okay. After you eat, your blood sugar rises. Okay. So after you eat, your blood sugar rises. And then here, in our analogy, then that means that a lot of travelers would start to arrive at the airport. So suddenly you have many, many travelers at the same time. And each traveler represents 1 unit of blood sugar. So we have a lot of sugar in the airport, in your blood. And then the people would drive in, park in a lot, and walk to the stop where the shuttle bus is supposed to pick them up. As your blood sugar continues to rise, all the airport parking lots would fill to capacity, and all the people would congregate and shuttle bus stops. Okay. The shuttle buses, of course, represent insulin. Okay. So the buses, I hope you're still with me. The buses are insulin, and the people are the blood sugar. Now, in the diabetic airport, unfortunately, there are all sorts of problems with the buses. In type 1 diabetes, in type 1 diabetic airport, the shuttle buses simply don't exist. So you don't even have shuttle buses. In this case, you don't have the insulin. The only shuttle bus manufactured in the known universe, Pancreas company, it's so fun the way they do it, was shut down. So the only company that was, making the buses is shut down in the case of Pancreas. In type 2 diabetic airport is a bit different. There are some shuttle buses, but they don't work very well. So yeah, in both cases, travelers never get to where they want to go. The airport system breaks down and chaos ensues. In real life, this corresponds to rise in blood sugar to dangerous levels, and diabetes is diagnosed by observation in the blood sugar levels or its spillage into urine. So we're talking about a major thing here. We have these two types. One type is seems like is not much to do because Pancreas company has closed down. The other one, you still have the insulin there, but then again, it's not working properly. Now, for both cases, this chapter gives hope, and that is what is so amazing, because if you have heard about diabetes before and you are a little bit like, oh, diabetes and sugar, so I shouldn't eat sugar to avoid having diabetes or something like that, you have a totally different view after this life, because this is not the truth, complete truth. Let me put this way. Now, let's continue here. So today, what happens today? We have people being diabetic people taking insulin shots. We have tablets they take in order to kind of deal with the problem. But diabetes is a very expensive disease. And not only expensive, but it destroys one's life completely, because it's totally, it's like going from bad to worse once you get the diagnosis. Now, I want to share with you, I'm not going to go through everything, but I want to share with you one chart they have here. Let's see if I'm able to help you make sense of it. So this chart, I'll show you first. See if you're able to see it clear. Maybe you're not able to read, but okay. On top, the arrow going up, you have the percentage of energy, and then you have on the other side going up death rate, and then down you have countries. Okay, so and then you have different colors of this. Okay, you see this going up here. This is for carbohydrates. And then you have the white one, the white, what you call this, rectangular? This one. Let me use a pen. So you have this one here. This one's, it's not writing. Come here. Yeah, you have these ones, you see here. Okay, these white ones, they correspond to fat. Okay, and then these points in black, that this line that is going down, each point corresponds to diabetes. So this chart is comparing diets with diabetes rates, and it's showing that as we go from US, is pointing the country. So it has US, Holland, so Netherlands, England and Wales, Scotland, Italy, Japan. And as you see, in the US, the consumption of carbohydrates, it's lower than my Instagram. Yeah. So the consumption of carbohydrates is lower than Netherlands. And then Netherlands is lower than England. England is lower than Scotland. Italy, they consume much more carbohydrates. And then Japan wins. Of course, they eat a lot of rice, right? But what is very interesting when we think of carbohydrates, we are thinking of sugar, right? So you might think, oh, they consume a lot of sugar. It means that the rate of diabetes should be really high. What is very interesting, they in this study or in these statistics, they looked at the consumption of fat. And if you see, US is consuming much more fat, at least when they were doing this research, I guess still now. And as you go down again, look, Japan, how little fat, and even Italy compared to US. Now, why is this interesting? It's very interesting because the chart shows that diabetes rate goes down as you consume more carbohydrates and less fat. You see it? In Japan, very little fat, a lot of carbohydrates. Ooh, Eureka! Have you ever thought about that? Did you know that before? The more carbohydrates you consume and the less fat you consume, so they are opposites, the less chance you have to develop diabetes. So, okay, I'll read a little bit here. What are they saying? It's saying here, okay. Okay, so they say, about 90 years ago, Mr. Hemsworth compiled all the existing research in a report comparing diets and diabetes rate in 6 countries. That's what we just saw. And he found that some cultures were consuming high-fat diets, while other cultures were consuming diets high in carbohydrates. And these fat and carbohydrate consumption patterns were a result of, pay attention to this now, of animal versus plant food consumption. So actually, the more carbohydrates they were consuming, less fat. In this case, in Japan, it meant they were consuming less animal foods. And then it says, as carbohydrate intake goes up and fat intake goes down, the number of deaths from diabetes plummets from 20.4 to 2.9 per 100,000 people. So is a extreme, how do you say, downward hill, if you may. And then they say a high carbohydrate, low fat diet, a plant-based diet. Why plant-based diet? Because naturally plant-based diet has less fat. Is unmistakably associated with lower rates of diabetes. Okay, and then this was about 90 years ago, right? Yeah. And then they say 30 years later, the question was re-examined, and again, they say 4 countries from Southeast Asia and South America, researchers again found that the high carbohydrate diets were linked to low rates of diabetes. So they found the same. And then they say here, researchers noted that the country with the highest rate of diabetes, in this case Uruguay, so they were doing this comparison between Southeast Asia and South America. So Uruguay came as the highest rate of diabetes. And it says here, they had a diet that was typically Western in character, being high in calories, animal protein, total fat, and animal fat. Countries with low rates of diabetes used a diet that was relatively lower in protein, particularly animal protein, fat and animal fat. So low in protein. I'm receiving a call. Low in protein, animal protein, low in animal fats, and low in fat, just general fat. A high proportion of calories is derived from carbohydrates, particularly from rice. Okay. These same researchers enlarged the study to 11 countries through Central and South America and Asia. The strongest association they found with diabetes was excess weight. And okay, let me continue here. Population eating, I'm getting excited. Most Western type of the diet also had the highest cholesterol levels, in turn was strongly associated with the rate of diabetes. Does this sound familiar, they ask. So very interesting, because it comes to the excess weight again, and that's why today we find this strong association between being overweight and having diabetes. Is the fat the issue, basically, especially animal fat, which animal protein comes with animal fat. Okay, let us continue now. Interesting point I found here as well. Some other studies, and then points some different studies, but this one I thought was very interesting. It says, in England and Wales, the rate of diabetes markedly dropped from 1940 to 1950. Why? Why do you think that happened? Why in 1940 to 1950 did the cases of the rate of diabetes dropped? You're right, because there was World War II, right? And then here it says, during World War II, when food consumption patterns changed, so people started eating fiber and grain. So it says fiber and grain intake went up, fat intake went down. People couldn't afford to eat fat, right? People ate lower on the food chain because of the national necessity. And then says Around 1950s, though, war was over, people gave the grain-based diets and returned to eating more fat, more sugar, less fiber, because now they were free from war, life was good, so they were baking and, eating everything like they were eating before, enjoying. Very interesting, this connection. And of course, it has many other studies as well. Um, yeah. So let's see, another point I found here I wanted to share with you. Uh, uh, uh. Yeah, this is interesting as well. Um, okay, let's see how I'm gonna share this with you, because these charts say a lot. So we have another chart here where they put so on one side you have insulin, and down here, see, you see the days, and they were looking at patients that were having different diets. So these patients that were taking, among them was patients type 1 diabetes and patients type 2 diabetes, as you can see. I'll show you once again. So what they did was they checked the amount of days that those patients were put on a high carbohydrate, high fiber diet. So I'll read from here what it says. Of 40 patients on, no, wait, I'll say here. Another group of scientists, Prichting Center, achieved equally spectacular results by prescribing a low-fat plant-based diet and exercise to a group of diabetic patients. Of 40 patients on medication at the start of the program, 34 were able to discontinue all medication after only 26 days. Wow. Think about that. You know anybody with diabetes? Think about that. 26 days, less than a month. This research group also demonstrated that the benefits of a plant-based diet will last for years if same diet is continued. And again, that goes to what we've been talking about here: consistency, having a weight loss or even trying to reach a healthier diet is not something that you put a date on it. That's why having goals have to be aligned with the person you want to become, because you have to continue doing the same thing if you want the same. I mean, yeah, not in those sense. I'm thinking about what Einstein said. But anyway, you want to keep working the same thing. So if you know that changing your diet, exercising more, that will bring you results, will make you become this person you want to become, why, when you reach this goal, would you then stop believing that, oh, now I'm cured, now I'm fine? No, that's not how it works. You have to continue doing the right thing so that you can really get the results you expect, right? And become this healthy, active person that you want to be, that you deserve to be. So this was a very, they even say these are examples of some very dramatic research, but they only scratch the surface of all supporting research that has been done. It's really amazing. So I definitely recommend you to look into this book. Let's see, was another case here that I thought was very interesting. Let's see if I find. Yeah, it was a comparison they made. Now I took so many notes, but then now I can't find. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah. Well, wait. I think I found it. Yes, I found it. Yay! Okay. So, okay, this is another study. So, right now, I think we've been over 3 studies already. So, in another study, scientists measured diet and diabetes in a population of Japanese American men in Washington state. Very interesting, because then again, we talk about also genetics, right? These men were the sons of Japanese immigrants to the US. Remarkably, they had more than 4 times the prevalence of diabetes than the average rate found in similar age men who stayed in Japan. So 4 times they were living in the US, they were Japanese, so their genetics was really Japanese, 100%. Um, and then it's saying that they had 4 times more prevalence of diabetes compared to other Japanese men of the same age in Japan that lived in Japan. So what happened? Those Japanese Americans who developed diabetes also ate the most animal protein, animal fat, and dietary cholesterol, each of which is found in animal based foods. So, because when you eat animal based foods, you like protein, animal protein comes with cholesterol because that's something that only um, animal foods have, and then it comes with fat. Okay, because it's part of animal foods, like we have fat in our body, in our muscles, right? um, yeah, you have the muscle and you have the fat. It's, yeah, the flesh. So yeah, and then says total fat intake also was higher among the diabetics. These same dietary characteristics also result in excess weight. These second generation Japanese Americans ate a meatier diet with less plant based food than men born in Japan. And then says the researchers wrote, apparently, the eating habits of Japanese men living in the United States resemble more the American eating style um, than the Japanese. So even though they were Japanese, they were living in the US and having the new habits that people in the US were having. So they were eating the same food like the local people in the US eating. So in this case, we see how um, the genetics have nothing to say whether they were originally from Japan and they had the same age compared to those other Japanese men. They still were having a different lifestyle, different food, and that is what influenced the numbers, the diabetic rates being 4 times higher than the men in Japan. So, having said all that, this really like brings out the idea that diabetes is connected to the food highly. Uh, Today's live, the idea was to bring you this view that what we eat really can predetermine, like can say how your future health wise will be. And when it comes to diabetes, you have the power to control that, whether you have it already or whether you want to prevent it. I know many people don't feel so attracted sometimes to the prevention because they feel like they are fine. But if you really care about your health and your life, your happiness, you want to feel good all the time. And prevention is better. And whether you don't have it, you probably might know somebody who has it and they can tell you how difficult is life. You depend on medication. This medication does not cure whatsoever. In fact, they come with lots of side effects, and diabetes doesn't get better, it just gets worse. It's a very destroying type of sickness. Normally, you have high blood pressure with it, and if you don't have it yet, you will develop at one point because your kidneys get damaged, your adrenal glands get damaged. Um, you start having issues with your how do you call this, keeping your pee, you can get blind, and many people being amputated. This is not to scare you, but it's just to be real with the what is expected when people have diabetes. So whether you have diabetes type 1 or type 2, we know type 1 is harder because pancreas is kind of dead, but there have been so many cases. Like these studies also show that it's possible to have even for people with type 1 diabetes to have a much better life, reducing medication. But people with type 2, definitely they can stop medication. We saw a study that showed that in 26 days they were able to remove medication. Now, how to do that is very important, that you are followed up by somebody that knows how to use food, nutrition in this way, and that also your health professional is coming along with you, because they are the ones that give you the medication. They are the ones allowed, right, to remove the medication or to reduce. But it's really amazing to see that it is possible. And I just want to conclude with something here, still from the book. So yeah, it's saying, yeah, it's saying, it's just one phrase here, I found it. It's saying, our habits of eating hot dogs, hamburgers, French fries is killing us. And this is underneath the topic, the persistence of habits. And then at the end, the last phrase again of this chapter 7 says, radically changing our diets may be impractical, right? It's not practical. It's not practical to eat healthy. It's not practical to exercise every day. It's not practical to eat vegetables or eat more vegetables and more fruit. It's not practical to sleep early because there is a program on TV or because I want to be with my family in the evening. It's not practical to do what's right for you, what is good for you. So we have to be careful with this wanting to be practical. So I really like here saying radically changing, because it's a radical change, because you go from water to wine or wine to water, whatever you prefer. When you stop eating many things, you stop having those habits, you start exercising, having a whole new lifestyle, and it will be seen as radical by many other people, even if for you it's the right thing to do. But he is saying radically changing our diets may be impractical, but it might also be worth it. So it's up to us to choose whether this is worth it. So with this, I finish our live for today. And I'm so glad that I showed up, because like I said in the beginning, I didn't feel like today my energy is not up there like I like, but that's how some days are. But I got a lot of energy from sharing this good news with you. And if you want to see again, this is the book. I recommend you to go, and I'll bring it here a few more times. I'll see what we'll have next Wednesday. And yeah, so that's it for today. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you on Friday again. Bye.